What's up, guys? Welcome back to the MMA Corner. And today we're going to be talking about Anderson Silva versus Jake Paul. I'm really excited for this fight. Hugely excited for this fight. Um, it's about time Jake Paul takes a step up in competition. He has definitely been fighting no names. Well, I don't want to say no names. Obviously, they're names, but I mean, as far as boxing goes, he's been fighting no names. Nate Robinson, he KO'd with one punch. Ben Askren, come on, man. What he did to Ben Askren was wrong. Because Ben Askren has never thrown a punch in his life. Let's be honest. If you ever watched him in the UFC, you know that guy is not a striker. So this is the first striker that Jake Paul is fighting. It's about time. It really is. It really is about time. I'm really looking forward to this fight. Because I think Anderson Silva is about to put some hands on him. And here's why. Not just because I'm a huge MMA fan, which I am. I grew up watching Anderson Silva. He got me into the sport in a lot of ways. He really did. Him, Brock Lesnar, those guys really got me into the sport. And back in the day, Anderson Silva was actually sponsored by Nike. The guy had a Nike sponsorship, a Burger King sponsorship. Okay, this is one of the most famous athletes to ever live as far as combat sports goes. He's forgotten more boxing than Jake Paul has learned at this point. You got to be honest about that. Now, a lot of these old head boxing guys, have no clue who Anderson Silva is. Now, he can't use his kicks in this one. He can't use his elbows, a lot of the stuff that makes him, even more dangerous. But, let's be honest. Anderson Silva's got knockouts with punches. He's got knockouts with elbows. He's got knockouts with shins. Okay? He's got knockouts with everything. The guy's been knocking people out with his limbs since Jake Paul was in the womb. Okay? And there's more evidence of this because there's a picture of Jake Paul and Logan Paul with the grown man, multiple time world champion Anderson Silva when they were kids. Okay? So this guy has been knocking people out longer than Jake Paul's been alive. Now he's a little bit older. He's 40, 47, a little bit seasoned for sure. But that does not stop him from being able to do this, because in his last fight he fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And what's crazy to me? All of these boxers, they love saying like, oh, Junior, man, he wasn't in shape. He didn't look fat in there to me. It's always an excuse when the boxer loses to a supposed non-boxer, because they don't want to give nobody no respect. Jake Paul could knock out 10 people in a row and they would still say, oh, well, he's not a boxer, blah, 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 You got to give Jake Paul respect for what he's doing. The guy's bringing a newer generation of fans to the sport of boxing. And honestly, boxing sucks. If we're just being real, boxing freaking sucks. You want to know why boxing sucks? It's because they never fight each other. Okay, the scariest guys never fight each other. I need a tune-up. You don't get no tune-ups in MMA. A tune-up? What is a freaking tune-up? If you're that guy, you need to get in there and fight, okay? There was no tune-ups when Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran and Tommy Hearns were all fighting, okay? All of them fought. And then they took turns fighting Marvin Hagler and getting beat up by him, okay? Because they weren't afraid, all right? And also, it was the money fights. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler was the first ever boxing match with $10 million guaranteed purses, okay? It's over $10 million guaranteed purses on both sides. That's absolutely a big payday, and that's part of the problem. Is that nowadays guys can get, like Terrence Crawford, he just got a $10 million payday to fight some no name that we've never heard of, over fighting Earl Spence. But I mean, if you're gonna offer him, $10 million to do it, why would he ever turn that down? But that's part of the problem, because the promoters are the reason why boxing is the way that it is. But I'm gonna get off my high horse on that one, because it's not like MMA. It's very different because you have the Ali Act. So one promoter can't control, everybody, but they can control a big side of the street, okay? Which is why we never get the big fights. because everybody retreats to their corner. Nobody wants to lose that sheen. But if they acted like the undefeated records didn't matter, then they wouldn't matter. Like in the UFC, nobody cares if you've got 8 losses, 10 losses. Who gives a crap? How are you right now? When you get in that cage, are you hot? Are you moving up? Are you getting better? Have you improved? Because we've seen plenty of guys. Michael Bisping being a great example of that. He had some setbacks before he got to the title. Did it matter that he had 6, 7 losses or whatever by the time he got to the title? No. Who cared? Nobody cared. It actually added to Michael Bisping's story in a lot of different ways. So I respect guys who get in there and who want the tough fights. And boxing, they don't want the tough fights. They just want to get the money for the easiest, which is life, right? So you want the most amount for the least amount of work. We all want it. But boxing is not supposed to be like that. And this fight right here, Anderson Silva versus Jake Paul, is everything that I love about boxing. Because you're bringing Anderson Silva from the MMA side, who is as decorated as it comes, 16 straight UFC victories, the most consecutive title finishes, most finishes in the title fight. I mean, his records, it would take me an hour to sit here and read them off to you. So with that being said, my official prediction for Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva is Anderson Silva by decision. And here's why. Because Jake Paul looks terrible on the pads. Okay, I watched his pad work. He don't look very good. Now, he has improved in a lot of different ways. He's improved in the ring, especially in that second Woodley fight. He cleaned up some things, but he's still got very amateurish movements in there at times. He'll look down and turn his head, close his eyes, those kinds of things that are correctable. But if you do that to a guy like Anderson Silva, who is gonna set you up, okay? Anderson Silva is known for his setups. That's one thing that Jake Paul's never seen from a guy in the ring before, who's gonna set up his shots, who's gonna lure him in. You're gonna see times where Anderson Silva's gonna put his hands down and invite Jake Paul in. And if Jake Paul goes into the spider's web, he's gonna get some hands put on him. And if you don't believe it, go back and watch Julio Cesar Chavez, fight him. And in Mexico, okay, and you guys know boxing, you getting a decision over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in Mexico, you had to beat him pretty handily, okay, because they love to screw you in boxing, and he won that fight fair and square, okay. Chavez couldn't do shit to him. He couldn't lay a glove on him. It's just a fact. Anderson Silva pieced him up. So can the amateur Jake Paul, because he is an amateur, he is way more amateur than Anderson Silva is at boxing, at his setups. And you know what? Maybe Jake Paul's gotten better, and he's gonna knock him out, and he's gonna look better than he's ever looked. But I don't believe it. I will never believe it. I love Anderson Silva. There's no way I'm ever picking Jake Paul over Anderson Silva. So official prediction: Anderson Silva by decision. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm gonna do a reaction video after the fights, so look out for that. Thank you for tuning in. My name's Anthony, and I'm out.